Hello and welcome to another Tactical Corner. Today, the Chaos Space Marines face off against the Drukhari. This is a segment where we improve your gameplay and we talk about the tactics and things that happened in the game. Let's begin. So Jared and I decided to play a Maelstrom of War game, and he ran his Iron Warriors with some of his Khorne Demonkin forces. Bloodthirster, Bloodletters, some cultists, a couple of rhinos full of infantry, and he was also running some obliterators and some mutilators, as well as like a random chaos spawn. Now, this is definitely an army that he's been working on for a while, and kind of wanted to just play some fun stuff to see what it did in 8th edition. Now, playing Maelstrom of War, first Maelstrom of War mission of 8th edition that I've played with the Drukhari and that Jared had played as well. And we set up the forces. It ended up being the Vanguard, or the very pointy deployment. And with the first turn, I really wanted to make sure that I got into a position to start putting pressure on to the Chaos Space Marine 9s early on. So I focused my fire on the rhinos. I knew that I needed to eliminate his mobility in the Maelstrom of War mission to make it harder for him to bring his forces to bear. So, as you can see, I baited him with my Cabalite Warrior Raider in the center with the craters, with my Archon to kind of draw his forces out, but I also put a lot of pressure on the right-hand flank with not only the Witches and the Trueborn and the Venom, but also an entire Razewing. Now, Jared jumped forward and was really hoping to do damage with the Bloodthirster getting in early on, but he did fail that charge. So even though the Bloodthirster did jump over his troops, he was unable to get into the Venom. He even burned one of his rerolls. This proved to be quite disastrous. On the center of the board, he did go for the bait, and he did indeed charge his Bloodletters into the Raider. Now, of course, Raiders are quite sturdy in this game, and I knew I was going to be able to fly away and do some damage. The other thing that Jared did was deep strike all of his Terminators and Obliterators and Mutilators essentially in my backfield. Now, this did put me on the back foot, but he completely committed all his forces to the battlefield. He also sent his Bloodthirster to go and kill my Razewing. Now, this meant that the Bloodthirster spent an entire turn in the corner of the table, not really participating in the main fray where he would have been more useful. Now, I was able to really do some damage and work on the smaller Chaos Space Marine units that were able to, that were on the flanks and in the center. All in all, it was the close application of firepower that really put some damage onto the Chaos Army, and my Lances were doing quite well. Now, I also used the Raiders to charge into the Obliterators, Raiders and Venoms, the Raiders and the Hellions, just to tie up the Obliterators from shooting. Falling back, and I don't believe they can shoot after they fall back or charge. This meant that the great threat of firepower for the Chaos Space Marines, which were the Obliterators, was quickly and swiftly dealt with. Now, what he could have done would have been to deploy the Obliterators further back in his deployment zone and use their greater range to really do damage on my light tanks. All in all, at the end of the game, the Bloodthirster was essentially the only model left standing, and I was able to focus my entire army against his big Bloodthirster. This just shows how concentrated firepower can really put the hurt on the enemy army, and how you can still play to the mission while picking off key targets and throwing out bait and switch units and using tanks to their great advantage as screening units and just to tie up enemy forces. That's all for this video, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Make sure you stay tuned for next week's Battle Report and Tactical Corner. Leave a comment and consider patronage.